persuasive speech about the Roman Empire, and I'm going to persuade my audience and still the Romans have an influence in today. Well, first of all, what is the Roman Empire? Does anybody know? Anyway, go ahead, what is it?
It was an empire that ruled most of the world.
Ah, very good. Actually, the Roman Empire was founded in 753 BC, that's before Christ, so almost 1,000 years beforehand. But it was, the mythological foundation was from Romulus and Remus and the she-wolf. There were two brothers, to say, founded the city of Rome. Now, Romulus killed Remus, which is pretty, vindictive, but then he goes and founds the city of Rome after him. So he kills his brother, then founds the city of Rome, right? Mm-hmm. That seems fair. The eternal city.
I wish I could have done that.
Hey, wish we all could have. Anyway, now, there's many impacts that the Roman Empire still have today. One is in our law, our military, architecture and civil engineering, and entertainment. Now, the Roman Senate, we think of senators today, it's modeled after the Roman Senate. Now, what happens, according to Mary T. Bowright, they had this certain system called the 12 Tables. Now, the 12 Tables were certainly a rule system that guided the ancient world at this time. And they actually have a very modern problem that I figured. Now, what happens if we have a neighbor and a tree, and their branches grow over on my property, and their apple falls on my property? Whose apple does that belong to?
I think it belongs to you.
All right, well, you're very correct. It would belong to me. Now, if the apple happened to fall on their property, we all know it's going to be theirs. Now, I have cattle as well. So what happens if the apple falls on my property, my cattle eats it? Is that correct? Could my cattle eat the apple? Yeah, of course, why not? Because once again, it's on my property. Now, we still have these problems all the time about neighbors' trees falling on my houses and who's the insurance to blame. It's funny to think that this problem hasn't died out for the past 2,000 years. Now, also with the Roman military, we still have what's called like a standard today, and an inseal and a symbol of our nation. I know of the Romans, it was an eagle. Of today, what's America's seal? What's our seal? The eagle, right? Yeah. And a lot of nations in the world still carry these seals. Now, there was a gentleman, his name was Gaius Marius, and he was one that reformed the Roman Empire, their military. He became the first professionalized army in the world. This means that they paid their soldiers to go out and do all their battles, and you can actually have a career by being in the military. Now, what Marius did, though, was made it to, instead of having mules and have a huge caravan of people pulling it up, according to Bardinelli, what he did was he minimized this. He made them all put on rucksacks and packs and pack them up themselves. The Romans were able to carry 80 to 100 pounds extra on their shoulders. We still do this today, but we only go around that 40 to 60 because they figured out the more weight, it's going just to hurt the individual. But the Romans were very tough back then as well. Now, also, with this military tradition that the Romans set, we give us colors, our standards, and our barriers as well. So, and then going on to architecture with these Romans and what they did is they developed roads and infrastructure, to their empire to make it more profitable as well. Now, there's this. Does anybody know who invented concrete?
The Romans?
Yeah, the Romans. The Romans are the ones who invented the concrete. We don't actually duplicate what we have today because Roman concrete, it gets stronger according to F.R. Conwell. It gets stronger year after year with Roman concrete. Our concrete, unfortunately, it doesn't do that. We lost exactly what the ingredients were to make Roman concrete. Also, they developed archways, aqueducts, and everything like that, and keystones, which we still use today in our architecture when we build any type of an archway. We still use keystones. And you know what? It's a funny expression with all roads leading to Rome. This was also a part of their architecture and their civil engineering. If you don't mind, can you please still show everybody, just so that they're still listening and participating. And lastly, what I think the Romans really impacted as well is our entertainment. Now, the Romans were the first to grandiose entertainment on a grand scale. The Greeks did it to a little bit, but nothing of the Romans. Now, an impact from Suetonius, he was a Latin historian. He actually said that, with Roman entertainment you can control the mob. And the mob was considered the people of Rome. Now, what they did was, not what we do today, is we have what's called the Circus Maximus, or the Hippodrome, which charioteers run around in a circle. What's that remind you of?
Insanity.
Oh, not insanity,
NASCAR.
but NASCAR, exactly.
NASCAR.
We go to these coliseums every Sunday, but we call them, stadiums for what?
Yeah.
To see basketball games, to see football games, to see soccer games, to see sporting events. They were no different from us. You know what I mean? So we obviously had inherit the idea of this from the Romans as well. And like I said, they're the ones that really made entertainment a big thing.
Because they had the Colosseum.
They had the Colosseum, they had the Hippodrome with the Circus Maximus, they had amphitheaters, they had a lot of things in acting guilds as well. Now, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. And now, the Roman Empire fell in 476 AD by barbarian migration. They didn't have any room, they didn't have food, so they went into the Roman territory and took what they wanted, and they kind of ran amok. So the Western Roman Empire fell. Now, Rome still survived through what was called the Byzantine Empire. Now, the Byzantine Empire then was sacked and destroyed by the Turks, but then that also evolved into the Holy Roman Empire, which the Holy Roman Empire soon dissolved, and that turned into the papacy, or the Papal States, which now is the Vatican City. So I'm asking you now, did the Roman Empire actually really die?
No.
Or did it just evolve?
Evolve.
Because we still are very predominant in the Roman Catholic Church, right? And Christianity all follows under the Roman Catholic Church. Now, I ask you, can you find any similarities that the Romans maybe still have impact today that we might not even be thinking about? Maybe Roman numerals. We still, Latin, 90% of what English speaking today is Latin, but it's a dead language. Not so dead. So, all in all, the Romans might be gone, but they still impact us today. And I'd like to thank you for listening to my speech, and have a wonderful day.